Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. Well, as you know, New Japan Pro Wrestling continues with day 12 of the Best of the Super Juniors. However, we're now almost at the closing of this tournament. They will calculate the points who will be heading, of course, in the semifinals in both the A block and the B block. Now, this gets a little tricky, boys and girls, so I'm going to try to do my best to try to explain it a bit. And then, of course, we move on with WWE Evolve, of course. As you know, we've been dealing with the Mog Squad. Well, they will be the leader himself. Max Abram will deal with Cappuccino Jones. As you probably can guess, all mayhem is breaking loose. And, of course, Wendy Chu makes another title defense, but this time against Sloane Jacobs. But we will also hear from announcements coming from the foreman, Timothy Thatcher, and plenty other things as well. And of course, we have AEW Dynamite. We, of course, going to see some interesting matchups. Of course, we have MJF once again defending the AEW World title against the Bull himself, Rush. So this is going to be a very, very messy match, of course. And then we have, of course, one of the opening rounds of the Owen Hart tournament in the women's division. As you know, Alex Windsor will be facing the wild card. But boy, we could not expect it who it was all this time. And then, of course, we have Will Ospreay and Mark Davis, former teammates, of course, in the Owen Hart tournament. This will determine who will proceed further into the finals, of course. So this is going to be very, very interesting, and plenty other things as well. Then, as always, we'll wrap up our episode, as usual, with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Leaded Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Leaded Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do some real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. School is in session, so let's begin, of course, with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Best of the Super Juniors 33, Day 12. Now, we're now getting close to the finale on this one. Now, this will be the final determination who will be heading, of course, into the semifinals. But first, they had to calculate the points. So let's begin, of course, with the B block. Our opening match is Sho versus Jacob Austin Young. Now, as you all know, Jacob Austin Young, being the creep that he is, he has that idiot Zane J by his side. But however, Sho decided, you know what? let's just take care of it. So basically, he had Dick Togo, of course, choking him out. So basically, they thought they had everything planned out. But what no one knew, well, Jacob Austin Young had a backup plan. Because, of course, they decided to take the fight outside the ring and went to the upper area where there's a door. But what no one expected is Jake Lee to show up. So that's what happened. Now, you would have assumed that Jacob Austin Young would have picked up a win on this one to stay alive in the tournament. However, something weird happened. Show put, of course, Jacob Austin Young in a submission, and the masked guy representing the United Empire colors showed up, threw in the colors, and just like that, it was over. So basically, the towel was the determination that Jacob Austin Young quit. And of course, everybody from Zane J and Jacob Lee were like, what the hell? And of course, we did see a moment where the masked guy removed his mask and stuck out his tongue. Now, there's only one person that can do that, and that is, of course, Yujiro Takahashi. I'm sure Jacob Austin Young is livid. If I was going to be him, I definitely would love to get a little payback against the House of Torture. Well, you have to wait in line. Next up, we have, of course, Kushida, of course, taking on Taiji Shimori. And these guys have dealt with each other before in the past, but this one was a termination as well. Oh no, never mind. Hold on, let me go backtrack a little bit. Show, of course, had 12 points, so basically he was still alive. So basically, certain people had to lose their match, of course. Next up, okay, now Kushida and Taiji Shimori. Just to go back, I thought this match was pretty good. Of course, with the new style how Kushida's been throwing, well, it wasn't enough against a guy like, of course, Taiji Shimori, because he picked up the win by applying the Bloody Cross, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. So basically, Ishimori with 12 points, so that stands, and so is Kushida. Next up, we have Yujiro Takahashi, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and El Desperado. Now, of course, things were out of control in this one, and don't forget, these two guys know each other too well for obvious reasons. For those who have not been following New Japan before, these two guys used to be former tag partners, and they were used to be members of what used to be Suzuki-gun, and they were IWGP Tag Team Champion, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, and that sets it out. However, once again, when it comes to the House of Losers, the ref is out, and all hell broke loose. However, of course, Desperado decided to play a little game with Kanemaru by using the Whiskey Mist, and then, of course, using the Pinche Loco, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, this match, because El Desperado won, Show is out of the tournament, and that's how it was. So basically, if either El Desperado won or lost, he continues on. So that's probably what you would have hoped for. Now, our next match, we have Daisuke Sasaki taking on Yo. So basically, it was a very intensified match. Of course, Sasaki attacked Yo before the start of the bell, not to mention hopes that he win. But Sho was resilient on this one, and he was applying the checkers on him, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, over. Yo picked up his next 2 points with 12 points, so he's still alive. Next up, we have, of course, Hayo taking on Robbie Eagles. Another good match. Now, of course, Hayo, I don't know if he was able to stay alive, but in the end, it was Robbie Eagles with the Ron Miller special that made him tap out, and just like this. Now, here's where the crucial parts happen. Remember, I mentioned this is a point-based system, so they were calculating. So later, it was told that, of course, that Yo is the number 2 person in the block, but the person who won number 1 block in the spot, the A block in the number 1 spot, surprise, surprise, it was Robbie Eagles. So Robbie Eagles will be, in fact, in the semifinals. Now, Sho, of course, he was throwing a temper tantrum because he's pissed, like saying, "Wait, hold on, wait a second. It's bullcrap. I beat him. I should be number 1." But the points do not lie. But of course, Yo was not going to let it go, and then he wanted to beat up Robbie Eagles to ensure he never makes it to the finals. But thank God for Hayo, decided, you know what, I'm going to help him out. So, Robbie Eagles grabbed the little plate and bam, whacked him. So basically, Yo can cry like a little bitch all he wants because he doesn't get things his way. Because he thinks he's tough. No, he's a pathetic loser. That's what it was. So that's pretty much it. So basically, Yo is number 2, Robbie Eagles number 1. So the 2 former Chaos members will be in the semifinals. But however, there's more to about this as we get. Now, let's get to the A block. We have Daiki Nagai versus Kosa Fujita. Obviously, Daiki Nagai was already out from the very beginning due to the fact he hasn't able to pick up a single result of this. But Kosa Fujita, well, it's no secret that, of course, they were both that he was a former winner of the best of the Super Juniors, but this time he's determined to do so. But however, he defeated Daiki Nagai by using an old move that everybody knows that it's something that the young lions learn, and that is the Boston Crab, and that's what happened. So Daiki Nagai tapped out the moment that happened, leaving him with 12 points. Now, our next match, we have Valiente versus Robbie X. Now, of course, Valiente was out regardless of this, but Robbie X could continue on regardless of how things would have gone. But it was a lot of high spots, but in the end, it was in fact Valiente Jr. with a leg lock and forcing Robbie X to tap out, and just like that, it was over, leaving Valiente Jr., despite that he couldn't proceed even further, with 6 points, leaving Robbie X with 10. Our next match, we have, of course, Ryusuke Taguchi versus Jun Kasai. Now, there's a funny moment in this match. Now, many of you guys know that Jun Kasai likes to use a ladder, and he goes up, he puts on his old goggles, and he does this, and jumps off. Well, Taguchi decided to do something similar, but instead of having a high ladder, he had a very low ladder. But instead, he was putting on one of those things that wrap your head when you go swimming, and the goggles. He's like this, trying to give him a little leg drop, but he missed. I thought it was way too funny. But however, of course, Jun Kasai brought a little bit of a misery into Taguchi. He brought in some syringes and stuck it up his butt, and then gave him the skewers. But however, it was of course an inside cradle by Taguchi that was able to pick up the win, and just like that, it was over. So basically, Jun Kasai was out of the tournament just like that, leaving Taguchi with 8 points and Jun Kasai 10. Of course, Jun Kasai was pissed, so he took his frustrations out of the young line. I don't blame him. Now, our next match, we have Francisco Kira versus Titan, of course. It was a very intense match, but don't forget, of course, when it comes to Francisco Kira, he has that idiot Zane J to help him out. And because of that, Titan was put in a submission by Francisco, and just like that, he gave up. So basically, Francisco Kira gave himself 12 points, leaving Titan 10. So basically, that's how it ended things. Now, our main event, we have Nick Wayne versus Master Wato. What an impressive match. I thought it was never going to be, it was going to be a close one, but it wasn't. It was, of course, Master Wato with the Sudentaku, which is the German suplex, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. So Master Wato won. However, this is where things got interesting. The points were calculated. It was told that, of course, Kosa Fujita is number 2 in the semifinals, and number 1, surprise, surprise, Master Wato. But however, the semifinal matches is going to be interesting. Kosa Fujita will be facing against Robbie Eagles. Yes, that's right. Both tag team partners, the Ichiban Sweet Boys, the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, will be facing off. But as for the other match, it's going to be Wato taking on Yo, also former tag team champions, together. And that's very interesting to see. So I'm looking forward to this match and see how it proceeds. So we'll leave things as it is right now with New Japan. I can't wait to see how further we go more. But let's move on with WWE Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolve. Now, we did see what happened last week. Now, if you guys remember, um, after, of course, Aaron Rourke was successful in defending the Evolve Championship, well, he was visited by the Mog Squad, and Max Abram is now declaring himself as the next challenger. So the Mog Squad decided to attack him and beat him up. However, thank God for the ID guys to help him out. Marcus Mathers, Cappuccino Jones, and Sam Holloway. So basically, all hell broke loose. And of course, the Mog Squad were the ones that came up, of course, on top of this one. So this could put, of course, Aaron Rourke in a bad position, knowing that he has to deal with these guys. And once again, another war has begun. Now, we did see Nikita Lyons and Sloane Jacobs having a little time of their lives, but however, of course, Sloane Jacobs gets a bit, as you know, it gets a title shot for Wendy Chu and that sort of thing. And of course, we know that these two ladies are aiming for the top, and that's always been clear. And that's exactly what Lyons and Sloane were talking about. Now, our opening match, we have Mason Holiday taking on Gianna Capri. Now, remember, Gianna Capri was in the face, of course, of Anya Run, who, of course, eventually loses her matches. But Gina Capri was telling her that, what the hell was that? You keep losing, and that sort of thing. And Mason Holiday defended her. But, of course, Anya Rue and Veronica Havik were right there watching at the VIP lounge. But, of course, what we did not anticipate is that Gianna Capri cheated her way out by rolling up Mason Holiday and using the ropes. So she thinks that this is a sweet, like a solid victory. No, she cheated, and of course, Veronica was okay with the idea, but neither was Anra. She's like, that's how you do it. So basically saying cheating is good. But Anya Rue was not going to fall for that. So we'll see how things would go. Now, Wendy Chu did a video promo sending some words towards Sloane Jacobs, all this, but she also told her, bring that little kitty cat of yours, and she's referring to Nikita Lyons. Now, it's Skull, we haven't been seeing him recently, but of course he's been doing a bit of a self-reflection, of course, about, a lot of things, being confused, betrayed, tricked, that sort of thing. So he's going to focus more on himself, but he did stated that next week he's putting it out an open challenge. I'd like to see who's going to be the one to answer that. So that's going to be very interesting. Now, our next match, we have Harley Riggins versus Romero Moreno. Well, this is a very interesting matchup because Moreno should know that Cam Hendricks will try to be there and try to ruin the whole thing. And that would have been the easiest way, but it did not happen because he was ejected out. But it didn't do any favors for Moreno, because Riggins did like a bit of a chokeslam knee strike, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Cam Hendricks decided to attack Moreno despite the fact that Riggins won. They decided to teach these guys, the ID guys, a lesson, like saying, oh hell no, dickhead, you're not taking our spot. So they decided to try to break them, because basically these guys think that the ID guys are like kind of like South Park, they took our jobs, that sort of thing. But yeah. Now, Foreman Thatcher just had a little nice conversation with Shadow Ash and Victor Zangnov, who in fact are the security, to ensure that things go exactly according to plan. But he also told them to keep an eye on the Mog and ID guys, because of course Cappuccino Jones will be dealing with Max Abram and that sort of thing. But however, of course, we did hear that there will be some new arrivals coming in soon at Secession on the 24th of June, which is not that far off from there. And then he also said, whoever walks out between Wendy Chu and Jacob Sloan, the Evolve Women's Championship will be defended at, of course, Secession, and whoever walks out will be facing Nikita Lyons. So the battle line has been set for that. Now, we did have Max Abram versus Cappuccino Jones, and of course that those so-called security guys were on watch, and the Mog Squad showed up out of nowhere. Now, of course, the security guys were doing their jobs, but later they were attacked from behind by Mathers and Holloway to deal with them. But for whatever reason, these knuckleheads decided to take the ID guys, like thinking they caused a problem. No, they were trying to stop the Mog Squad from taking things further. But what they had no idea is the CJ Valor showed up, costing the match, and Max Abram applied like a somewhat of a famouser, and just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. So if I was the AD guys, I would do something about the security guys not doing their jobs right. Now, PJ Vossler, as you know, since arriving in Evolve, she has her sights set on the Evolve Women's title. So she did stated she'll be keeping an eye out because we know sooner or later that she's going to try to get her hands on this belt, and that's only a matter of time until she does. Now, our next match, we have Kai Kavari taking on the Elijah Holyfields, who makes his debut. Well, he took him out completely with a bit of a uppercut up to the chin. It looked more like similar to a Samoan spike, but no. And just like that, it was over. Now, Tristan Angels was not happy with the results of losing to Aaron Rourke. He feels like it's embarrassing, basically. And not to mention, he feels like the Mog Squad, most specifically Max Abram, had no business whatsoever calling his shots. So that's not. So he's saying, I'm not done with you, Aaron Rourke. I'll be coming for that belt. Because he feels that Aaron Rourke is an embarrassment to become champion. Well, too bad. That's how things are. Now, our main event, the Women's Evolve Championship, Sloane Jacobs versus Wendy Choo. Well, of course, Nikita Lyons was going to be there by her side, but Wendy Choo really put up the hell of a fight. You would have assumed that, of course, Sloane Jacobs would have had the slight advantage, but no. Wendy Choo took a very good spot and put her in the third nap, and just like that, she tapped out. So now the match is set for Secession. Wendy Choo will defend the Evolve Women's Championship at Secession. Will take on Nikita Lyons. However, in the VIP lounge, PJ Vasa and Karen Petrovic were right there until PJ Vasa, well, for whatever reason, went on a temper tantrum and attacked Petrovic. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up in the match together sooner or later, but we'll see how things roll from there. But as of right now, we're done with WWE Evolve. Let's move on with our last review, and that is, of course, AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite. We opened up with an interview with Renee Paquette talking to Rush, who is now facing for the AEW World title. So Rush was talking about, this is a great opportunity for him, that he's doing this for his family, for his people in Mexico. But of course, MJF decided, that's very cute, and then it ended up in the brawl. So that's how the whole thing. But once again, we did see another interview with Renee Paquette talking to Rush, because it later turned out to be a no countouts match. When he was about to say something, someone from his past, of course, let's just say a former Ingobernable, decided to have a little chat with them, saying that this is his opportunity. He told them who he is, He said, you don't need to hear me to say good luck because I know you. So that's pretty much how it works. So he told them, everybody needs to know, if you mess with the bull, you get the horns. So basically, Rush was thankful for him for that. Now, we jump into that match, of course, the AEW World title in those counter match. Well, there was a lot of plunder being used. I mean, there were weapons, whatever is necessary. Not to mention, Rush wanted to bring the hurt to MJF, but somehow MJF was able to overcome it. So he did everything humanly possible not to get hurt too much, but apparently MJF put him in a submission, and of course, Rush, being tough that he is, didn't back down. He did not quit. He just kept on going until his body finally gave out and the ref made a stoppage. Now, the post-match, of course, well, MJF decided, you know what, I'm going to put more hurt on Rush, but Mark Briscoe showed up and decided to deal with it. And then, of course, MJF, who does not want no piece of Mark Briscoe, of course, wanted to hurt him himself, hurt him more until the conglomeration, of course. We did see Tomohiro Ishii made his return. He was there with Strong, O'Reilly, and Orange Cassidy. Now, this is where things get happen. Now, there was a bit of an interview before the entire event started, where we did see, of course, Renee Paquette talking to conglomeration with, of course, our current trios champions, retaining their belts, getting new shirts. But Mark Briscoe said while he was out, he was a bit jealous for what he saw this past Saturday, and he said that he's looking for a fight. He didn't care who was the first person he saw. Well, let's just say the first person he saw was, "It's fine. It's fine." And of course, our trio champions are like, "Don't move. Don't move." And of course, Briscoe's like, and then when he left, it's like, "All right. That's just gonna be. So basically, Leo Rush was the opponent. But what's funny is when Leo Rush was making his way to the ring, Ishii, O'Reilly, Strong, and OC, they were all like, "Don't move." And then later when he turned back, they go like, like I can't. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. But of course, Mark Briscoe. I'm sure he probably realized that he got himself in a very weird situation. I mean, you saw how Leo Rush runs like an animal, you know. But however, he did manage to take him out when he put him in a cutthroat driver, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. Then we did see a bit of a post-match promo where he talks about his brother's birthday, his debut, and that sort of. But however, of course, the obvious thing is for Mark Briscoe, he's not done with MJF. So he's like, sooner or later, MJF, you may have to face me to defend that AEW World Title. So that pretty much sets it up. Now, the Triangle Madness, as you know, made their presence known to do a little promo, of course. Tekla was talking about her time with Japan, about how she got fired and all that, but she did make it clear that this was not over. But she did state it, the Sky Blue, who is now in the Owen Hart tournament, will probably win. And then, of course, Julia will regain the TNT title. Basically, try to ensure everything goes on track for, of course, the Triangle Madness. But however, as you know, Stardom will be participating in Forbidden Door, but Tekla decided, that she's declaring the death of Stardom because, as you know, possibly Toru Okada will be participating there as well. So that sets it up right there too. So we'll see. Now, Jon Moxley decided to give a little preach to Will Ospreay because, as you know, Will Ospreay is in the main event taking on his former teammate, someone he trusted, and that is Mark David. So hopefully this little pep talk gave him a little inspiration. Now, Andrade El Idolo took on a guy named DK Vondu. Well, this match ended after 38 seconds, so you can call it a squash match when he applied the DM. But however, of course, during the post-match promo, well, let's just say, as you know, Andrade has a sight set on the AEW World Title. So that's saying. But, of course, he tells Max, how you know you would beat me. And then, of course, we did see Don Callis, that little snake, coming out, of course, with Jake Doyle, announcing the newest member of the Don Callis family, and that is, of course, Kevin Knight, where we jump into the TNT Championship, of course, Kevin Knight defending it against his former tag partner, Mike Bailey. And, of course, all hell was breaking loose. I mean, the match was going great until, of course, Don Callis, who decided to play like he thinks he's some sort of hero, decided to step in, and Jake Doyle distracted the referee. And, of course, we did see a bit of a win by Kevin Knight. Just like that, it's completely over. 1, 2, 3 is done. Now, we did see an interview with the Dogs, of course, by Rene Paquette. Once again, they decided, of course, to make fun of our current tag team champions. But the Bucks were saying, just because you guys did what you did, that makes you in line for those titles. So basically, they're looking like a way to ensure it's not going to happen because we're going to be in line first before they do. So we might have a number one contendership coming up soon. Now, we did see, of course, the first round of the Owen Hart tournament in the women's division. Alex Windsor facing, of course, a wild card. And boy, I did not anticipate that, but there were rumors circulating that she was making a return. And if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, CEO, yeah, Mercedes Moné. But however, I think this was a very good rematch and payback for Mercedes Moné. For those who haven't forgotten, it was Alex Windsor who defeated Mercedes Moné for the New Japan Strong Women's title. So you can say that this is a measure of revenge on that. And of course, Alex Windsor tried to put up a hell of a fight against her, but Mercedes Moné was just way too much and put her in the statement maker and make her tap out. So basically, she moves on to the next phase. Now, we did see an interview with Don Callis along with Okada, of course. Don is happy with the fact that the TNT title is back where it belongs to the Don Callis family with Kevin Knight. And then, of course, he believes that Mark Davis will walk out at winning Will Ospreay because, as you know, he has spare issues for him. And they think they'll make it all the way to All In, but we'll see what happens. Now, Tommaso Ciampa once again has his fair issues towards Jericho, making more of claims towards him. But we're yet to hear from Jericho what he has to say about him, so stay tuned for that. Now, our main event is the men's Owen Hart tournament in the opening rounds. Of course, we did see in the semifinals Will Ospreay versus Mark Davis. Now, remember, Mark Davis put him out for a while due to the fact of that injury that he had. But of course, we thought this match was going to go exactly the plan. But however, of course, when it comes to when the referee knocks out, they're trying to do whatever it takes. We did see Trent Beretta and El Clone to try to deal with Will Ospreay, and then of course Garcia and Yuta took them out, and then of course Lance Archer showed up and took them out, and then Claudio took him out, and then Brian Cage took out Claudio, then Pac took out Cage, Jake Doyle took out Pac, but later he got taken out by both Marina Shafir and Jon Moxley. So all hell broke loose. Like, you can tell that this is a war between both the Death Riders and the Don Callis family. When things were going exactly like they would have hoped, Will Ospreay was attacked once again from behind by another teammate, someone who is good friends with Mark Davis and tag partners in the past, and that is Kyle Fletcher. He showed up, and then he decided to use a screwdriver, but thank God for Takeshita, who has his fair issues towards him, decided to deal with it. And then, of course, we did see Davis had the screwdriver, thinking this would be the opportunity to take him out. And of course, we did thought Will Ospreay was going to put him out with the hidden blade, but no. And even the power driver that Mark Davis has been using, he thought it was done, but no. But in the end, it was Will Ospreay with the armbar, and just like that, he made him tap out. It was over. So that means anybody from the Don Callis family, well, sorry, dickheads, you're out. So, but I do have a bit of a prediction towards this, but we'll see when we get there. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for AEW and everything else. Let's wrap up our episode with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin with upcoming events, starting with GCW. Now, as you know, they will be in LA on the 27th for America's Most Wanted. They just announced Hook will be participating in this event. So any fans down in LA want to see Hook, go get your tickets now. Now, as you know, on July 11th in Hartford, Connecticut for the You Only Die Once, it was announced that Joey Janela will be facing Gabby Forza. And then, of course, the following day in Manchester, New Hampshire, making their official debut in that very area for Melee in Manchester, they just announced Richard Holiday will be returning to GCW, participating in this one. Then we have, of course, the Tussles in Tulsa, taking place on July 19th in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They just announced Marcus Mathers versus Cappuccino Jones, which, ironically, we have been seeing them in WWE Evolve. And then finally, of course, GCW has announced for the first time they'll be making their debut in Minneapolis on August 1st. Now, I'm going to say this coincides to SummerSlam and various other things, so that's what I'm going to put out. Now, House of Glory for the Inferno event on the 19th of June in Chicago, two things have been announced. Charles Mason, our current heavyweight champion, will be participating, and we have the debut of Armageddon, consisting of Vengador and Gringo Loco as a tag team. Tokyo Super Wrestling has announced for the Summer Sun Princess on the 18th of July, Aja Kong will be in action against Arisu Endo, so that's going to be a very interesting one. However, around the same day of this event, on the 18th of July, well, down south, of course, in Australia, Kira Summer, who is in fact another Tokyo Wrestling, also a Australian who's an Australian wrestler, will be making her debut at Adelaile Championship Wrestling, which is her hometown, making her debut. So basically, she wants to show her fellow country people what she's made of now. So it's kind of interesting to see that. So that's pretty much it for upcoming events. Now on to some developments. Wrestling Observer reports what JBL mentioned about, the WWE should replicate the success of AAA for when they have future partners or future deals, of course, in UK or Japan. Now, of course, I understand that many fan bases would say it could happen, but the problem is this: we know that the UK have been dealing with WWE in the past with, of course, not because, of course, they had many independent shows and it was ruined by WWE, and Japan, well, they're not giving in because they're not going to allow what they did to the UK happen to them. So that sort of thing. But I don't know if that will happen. PPP Tokyo has announced that Riara will be out of action for quite some time. Apparently, she injured herself during a practice and had a clavicle sprain. So basically, that's what it was. Now, many of you may saw that Mick Foley made his appearance in AEW. He explains about his reasons why, like saying that it was AEW that kind of made him fall in love with wrestling once again. And I think there's more to it. He said, let me pull it up here. Yes. And this is what he says. What I feel from watching two shows in AEW was like a little bit magic, and W's kind of lost it. I think when you are part of a corporation and the bottom line is everything, you take away from your mid card by making it clear that your selling is more important than the product in the ring. I have young fans who weren't even born when I was wrestling. They come up to me and talk about the matches. Now, I can't prove this, but I wonder what part of the reason the younger audience are drawn to matches from my era is because we called the matches. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were locked into the matches. There weren't even so many things that had to go when we people out suspending in disbelief. That's just a theory of my part, but think 10, 20 years down the line, the matches that JR called, whether it was with the King or whether it was with Jim Cornette and WCW, they'll stand by the test of time, and I think better than the current matches in WWE because it seems like the matches are means to an end instead of something to be enjoyed for themselves. So I feel at like this point AEW, the personal ownership shows a love and feeling of magic that I don't think the corporate ownership of WWE display nearly as well. So yeah, so he's saying that now it's like WWE become his corporation instead of like it was completely different time in a different era, and I think that's what Mick Foley is saying, and he's getting fans who were not even born during his era talk about those matches, and it's interesting because I think people are saying I don't know if we like the matches of today. Now I know I'm gonna have people to comment on that, but J-Rod, their matches are doing good, yes, but we're talking about a guy who, in fact, who lived this era, and he feels that today's era is not the same anymore. And I don't blame him. I mean, he has every right to feel this way, and and I don't blame him for that either. So that's how things are for him. So we'll see how things go from there. But as of right now, let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, well, we're probably going to focus more on Ring of Honor and TNA. I'm not sure about New Japan. I know they're going to continue on, but if there's anything happening, we'll see. But we'll leave things as it is, making Ring of Honor and TNA as the top priority. Anything else, we'll leave things as it is. But for now, I'll say this, that I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.